everybody, and welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. This week, we are talking about Scott's pick of Urban Legend, a movie that I think Scott said this last week about Book of Shadows. The more that he watched it, the more that he liked it each time. That's kind of how I feel about Urban Legend. I remember seeing this in the 90s when it was released on VHS and being like, fuck that. That's just like a Scream wannabe. And then maybe saw it one other time and thought, it's a little bit better. But I had a good time today watching Urban Legend. Scott, why did you pick this bad boy?
I have been threatening this movie for a very long time, and I went with it today. I was hoping that Brian would see it in Trello. First of all, that was a fucking mistake. But second of all, I was hoping that if Brian knew that we were doing Urban Legend, let me rephrase
Did he come running out of the shadows and join us?
Yes, if Brian knew that Danielle Harris, his long-lost crush that he almost spoke to at Monster Mania 2019.
But was attacked by a stack of pizza boxes instead.
I gave him every opportunity, and he pissed it away. Anyway, I thought that maybe if Brian knew that we were doing it finally, that he would be like, I'll make the time to be on this show. It's okay. He's a busy boy. We'll get him back someday. But it's just like I saw Book of Shadows coming through, and I thought, they're just so thematically, stylistically the same. They're both that late 90s, early 2000s. It's just glossy. You know, everything looks so shiny.
It's something that... So here's what I came to after watching...
Can I find it anywhere?
Oh my God!
God damn it.
Was it the Blair Bitch Project? We already talked about it.
So
it's probably Pirates.
Watching Blair Witch 2 and watching this and thinking about them through the lens of like these were movies that I either didn't watch because so many people hated it when it was released, or I watched and was like kind of let down by. I think it comes down to something that I mentioned. I want to say it was on the Disturbing Behavior episode, but maybe it was even a more recent episode than that, which is I think now that we're 22 years removed, there is some warm blanket effect that is that Scream-influenced style of horror films for like that 5-year period of like 96 to 2001 that is just so comforting and so enjoyable. Even if the movie is complete trash, I'm just like, I am having so much fun because like, these are the regular faces that I would see in every one of these movies. Like it's the same rotating group of cast members, and it's these weird meta inside jokes, and it's like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Joshua Jackson's car is playing the Dawson's Creek theme song for a few seconds.
Great bit. Great fucking bit.
But it's like,
I was like, I shouldn't have done this when I watched that.
Yeah, it does happen early on where you almost turned it off. But
it's all of that. Like and it's so illogical. Like if Brian was here, the biggest thing that he'd be harping on is the twist where he's like, he's like, there is nothing on this planet that will convince me that 99-pound girl was like carrying these bodies to and fro at her bidding. Like it's so outrageous. But
there is a comfort level for sure. Because I think that like...
I felt a comfort level just with the TriStar theme. Like I think that is one of the themes that gives me so much comfort, and I don't really think of it as often as I think of like when I hear that Troma music or when I hear that Full Moon music or like
that
the Dimension logo.
That New Line logo always got me, and you're right.
The TriStar does have it.
Really? Damn.
That song is fantastic. Like that little 20-second music with the... And I know that a huge part of it for me is you always have like, you know, the same way that 20th Century Fox has appeared in front of a ton of movies, but for most of us, it is the sound of Star Wars about to begin. Like the TriStar theme for me is the sound that I'm about to watch Monster Squad. Because when I was a kid, I'd put it on and you'd have that horse galloping past the screen, and then he would jump into the logo, and then boom, it's Monster Squad time. So like I think that that's part of the comfort for me, but it is just a really great song that was in front of a lot of movies I loved as a kid.
Oh yeah.
There's something that like, so I've talked about it on the show before, but I have the appreciation and the love as just like a cinema viewer, but I don't have the nostalgia for slasher cinema or like even like late 80s into early 90s stuff. But this, as we've as you can tell by my picks in the past year on this show, plus what we've talked about, even on other picks from this era, and I'm going to certainly touch on today, this era of film does something for me. That warm blanket effect that you're talking about, Matt, is so it for me. And this is a first time watch for me. I've never watched Urban Legend.
Oh, nice. So there's not any nostalgia going into it. Yeah.
I slipped right into it like it was like, it was exactly it. I do think Jamie Blank's between this and Valentine, is like
I'm so glad I didn't pick that as my double feature.
Yeah. Dude, there's some knowledge there. There's because I looked into it a little bit, and the fact that Jamie Blanks didn't get Scream, didn't get I Know What You Did Last Summer, but got Urban Legend, and it almost felt like there was a little more flexibility to do the references or the kills or whatever it is, still with major studio hands on it, as you can tell. But he's a first time, I think Urban Legend's a first time major studio director.
Yeah, from what I read, he wanted I Know What You Did Last Summer so badly that he went out of his way to shoot a 5-minute teaser of what his movie would look like.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's this is how bad I want this. And they were like, we're good.
Brilliant at the time, because now you can shoot a 5-minute whatever the fuck you want and put it wherever the fuck you want, and nobody could give a shit. But at the time then, that's brilliant.
I will say one of the things, though, that is the big difference I realized watching this to something like a Scream. You watch Scream, let's say, Scream or even Scream 2, but both of those movies, they really take their time building these characters and very slow kill. There's low body counts in both of those movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ultimately it's maybe 4 people get killed before the killer reveals himself. This girl is just killing people fucking left and right every 10 to 15 minutes is a stalking.
Little discretion, but a lot of preparation, because it also has to tie into an urban legend. So it's there's a lot happening here.
Well, look,
I think the killer's a
OCD
genius.
kind of killer,
Yeah.
I like that attention to detail. I like that holiday theme, my dudes.
Right. Yeah. Well, she certainly, she obviously is, all she does is think about killing, or else we wouldn't get to this point, right? There's no
always be killing.
Always be killing. That's right, baby. There's certainly no, everything's premeditated for sure, but, that's all she thinks about. There's no other, there's nothing else. And I think that, some killers, it's a side hustle, but for her, it's as we come to find out, complete vengeance and total obsession. And it's so, I don't know, it wasn't a great payoff for me, but I was I liked it. I was this works.
I had a real Bernstein Bears type situation happening, because I don't know why in my memory I swore the third act of this movie took place in in a room, in a college course classroom, not just in a random dorm. But again, I watched this, the last time I watched this I was a freshman or sophomore in college, so we're talking 15 years separated.
Oh yeah.
It's funny, for how much I enjoyed this movie, I'm looking at my notes. These are the snarkiest notes I have ever written about a movie. I just want to read a few of them real quick, because it seems so weird to me out of context. I don't know how I would even mention these. So here's just a handful of the notes that I have written down in the snark that I wrote them. Oh, good. At least people aren't talking about how the news media is causing a bunch of shit in 2022 anymore. Another one said, who designed this radio station? MC Escher? There's another one that says,
truly, and there's microphones everywhere. Oh, well, I thought there was microphones everywhere until I figured out that Tara Reid was wearing a wireless mic. But I was like, she's running around this entire building, and we're getting airplay from her screams like she never left the
booth.
But
did they have fucking wireless back then that was that reliable?
That's bullshit. Whatever it was, I swear she wasn't wearing a headset when she ran out.
Dude, I've seen this movie so many times, and you are killing my suspension of disbelief.
Yeah,
You're
sorry.
ruining the next time I watch this movie.
I've got a few more. How
Don't
does
worry,
this
Bloody
whole
Mary's
goddamn
better.
campus? How does this whole goddamn campus have one cop? What's the next question I have?
Because she's badass. She watches fucking.
Pam
She
Grier
watches
movies,
Coffee
baby.
and
Grier.
Foxy Brown and
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
She
I
shows
said,
up
how
in the
popular-
sequel too, by the way.
Does
Now
she? I
Yeah.
love that.
Another note just said, "How popular was this parka exactly?"
I don't know. Why don't you ask fucking?
Yo, I'm gonna tell you, New
Scott
Hampshire.
Pilgrim.
Yeah, fucking New Hampshire. That's some New England shit. That's like pre-North Face, but like the predecessor. That's the predecessor to North
Where
Face
do you
completely.
think Pendleton University is supposed to be? It's absolutely Connecticut.
Well, so
Because
I know,
she said
I know,
she went
I found
to.
out it's
She
New
was like,
Hampshire.
"Oh, I almost went to." Okay.
Oh, wait,
She was
and
like,
so-
but I
almost
thought,
went
but
to
I wrote New
NYU,
Jersey
but-
in my notes. I thought it was Jersey.
All right. Well,
No, you wouldn't see anyone in Jersey wearing that shit.
No,
and then,
clearly.
they would
And I
have to be
also
wearing the
wrote-
puffy, the bumblebee jackets.
Yeah.
That's what they would have been
with
wearing in
cigarette
2000.
burns because the ash flew off and started burning the nylon.
The last two sassy ass notes that I wrote down while watching this. Why is every helpful person in this movie creepy as all hell?
Yeah.
And why is this dorm set up like a shitty house of horrors?
Yeah.
That's the end of my notes. But
Well, because I'm
like,
telling you right now, late 90s, early 2000s, college buildings were not letting anything go to waste because they were on their way to just charging 10 grand increments each year. They were not going to let, and there was no empty buildings on any college campus. I promise you that.
No.
But so I do want to jump back to one of my notes that I wrote, kind of snarky about like the creepy people. But in the very beginning of this movie, we have the Brad Dourif cameo.
Yeah.
Love it.
He's
That's my first
He's the
note.
gas station attendant. This is going to sound snarky when I mean it sincerely. The skillful way in which he subtly notices that there's someone in the back of the car as an actor without like actually revealing it to the audience unless you're watching with that expectation is so masterfully done. And then giving him, great writing to give him that stutter so that he can't just tell her the information. It's very well. It's a very well scripted opening scare.
Yeah.
Like your
He plays
opening
it so
set
well.
piece. It's paced perfectly.
There's this
The-
beautiful
and
flyover
she can't
shot,
sing
too, of the gas
either.
station. She cannot sing. It's the second best use of Total Eclipse of the Heart after Old School, obviously.
Yeah, I fucking need you, Mo.
I'm throwing another one in there because I'm sure in a couple years we'll cover it. I'm pretty sure, unless I'm wrong, Kyle, isn't the pool scene in The Strangers 2 set to Total Eclipse of the Heart?
I haven't seen Strangers 2.
Oh my
but
God.
if it is, I'm glad it's in the running. 'Cause I can
Strangers
imagine
2
that there's
is
probably a good-
legitimately a semi-decent movie made into a great movie just for the pool sequence with Total Eclipse of the Heart. It is unbelievable
if-
how well that scene is done.
As a person who doesn't know how to swim, the pool scenes are always scary to me. So
Yeah.
if they can make it interesting and scary, for it.
Yeah.
But
No, it's a
it
very
is
well-paced
a
movie.
great use of Total Eclipse of the Heart. And there is this beautiful flyover shot of the gas station as she's running. That's, clearly not a drone. Like,
Yeah.
it's, you know what I
They
mean?
didn't
But it's
have
just
drones in 1999 when they
It's
were
this
filming this shit.
beautiful shot and the pouring ass rain and Brad Dourif coming out and screaming. It's like, and we already know that my love of Snopes, or all of our love of Snopes, really. And this played so well into that. This was just like, I was remembering.
Oh,
I had
I was
a book.
obsessed with urban legend books in the 90s.
Did you have alligators in the sewer? This hardcover. Hold on.
No, I didn't. I had, and I'm
His
sure.
headphones are off. He is running off.
Yeah,
to a bookshelf.
mine are back there. I have the Mexican Rat. Who's that by?
So this is by Thomas J. Crowell.
Okay, mine were by Bertrand something or other.
I read this book like it was the fucking yearly almanac
Bible?
or Guinness Book of World Records. Truly. Like, it was like one of those books as a kid that I would return to and look up. It was basically an encyclopedia for me.
Yeah.
Along with Snopes. Like this was my personal one, and then Snopes was my easy access if I could get on my grandparents' dial.
Yeah, it,
Like it was,
that's the sound of the
So
modem.
we'll talk about some dial-up in this movie.
Oh yeah,
No
hell
doubt.
yeah. Kyle was like, "Oh, in the '90s, they weren't wasting any space at liberal arts colleges." I went to a liberal arts college. Every dorm in this felt like the best dorms on my campus. I can smell them.
Yeah.
Because they smell like, I don't know if it's like lath and plaster or what it is, but they don't smell bad. But they smell kind of like an old book, but it's not vanillin, which comes out of old books. So it's this smell that I can't place, but I know as soon as I smell it. So my college was referred to as the Princeton of the pasture land because it's in Ohio.
Love it.
And so and Princeton is pretty much what Pendleton is ripping off, in my opinion here. I think that I like this movie more as an adult after going through college, because I saw it when I was in high school and I liked it well enough. It kind of like fell by the wayside. The most exciting thing about it was that Danielle Harris was in it.
Yeah.
I thought she was super fucking cool because she was in Halloween 4 and 5. And I was like, oh my God, she's a great child actor. Oh my God, she's still doing like horror, because I think she was like in like Goosebumps or something. I don't know what she was doing. She was doing other stuff that was like horror adjacent, because I was on these Angel Fire sites like reading about Danielle Harris before IMDb was a thing, and I was like, oh, that's super cool. And then she showed up in Urban Legend. I was like, oh my God, that's Danielle Harris. And it was super cool to me, and I thought it was a totally like platonic, super awesome experience to see her in that. But I was just like, it didn't fulfill what I needed it to fulfill for how much I loved Urban Legends at the time, because like Kyle, I was obsessed with them. So I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. And I think that is also why we didn't discuss this before. But I will tell you guys one really quick snippet that I found out, or that I'm sorry, I knew it, but I had forgotten it. Mm-hmm. My dad spent his freshman year of college living in a fucking morgue.
What?
Yes. He went to college in West Virginia in the late 60s and mid to late 60s. And
all they had were morgues.
Well, the thing is that he was in the first wave of baby boom kids going to college, and they did not have enough space for the amount of students that were coming in for his class. His class was the first class. It was like 1967 or something like that when he was hitting college. The overflow, there were like 3 types of male students there. There were the frat guys, there were the independents, and then there were the morgue guys. And he was one of the morgue guys. And apparently, when he left and moved and went into the Air Force, he took one of the placards from the fucking morgue with him. What? And then so it was in storage when he was in the Navy, the Air Force. And when he left the Air Force, they were like, we can ship it as far away as you came to the Air Force.
It's a weird fucking like ultimatum.
Yeah, well, they were like, I guess that Albuquerque and where he was from was equidistant, so they shipped it back to his parents' house. He didn't move there. He was going to move to New England, and then that fell through. He moved back with his parents and then moved to Ohio. And so in my parents' attic somewhere for the last 45 fucking years, my dad has held on to the placard from the dorm, the morgue dorm that he lived in the 60s. Isn't that insane?
Yo, morgue dorm. It has to be something.
New band
name,
right? Morgue dorm.
Morgue dorm.
That's the name of your next album, right there.
Morgue dorm is out of control. Like, yes, that story is. I want to see that plaque.
He was like, I will find it before I die. Yeah. I was like, I hope you hurry up.
I hope you do. I will find it. If you don't find it before, somebody will find it, and I'll get it out. But it's going to be in your presence, and I can't wait for that.
I've got 2 things wild. I want to bring up real quick. One is, as we're talking about colleges, so a lot of the kids that I've been working with for the last couple of years have graduated high school, and they are currently in the middle of their first or second week of college. And I texted one of them to see how it was going. And her response will live in my brain for a while. She said, so far it's pretty mid. I feel like Disney has overhyped this experience way too much for it to succeed. And as soon as she said that, I'm watching this movie and I'm thinking, yeah, man, even as a kid, these movies gave me such a bad understanding of what college is. As we're watching this Urban Legends class with Robert Englund, where he's like, who wishes to come up here and eat the Pop Rocks and drink the soda?
Matt, ask me what I'm drinking this week.
God, what are you drinking this week?
Pop
no, don't do it. Don't do it, Scott. All right,
That's incredible.
So Kyle, tell us what you're drinking, and while Scott tries to kill himself, we're going to do my second thing I want to talk about, which is the exciting...
I'm purely drinking a Busch Light for college. I know it. I've done it before. I'll do it again. It's just... Urban Legend was hard.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk some. But
apparently not. Scott fucking nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it.
If I could do milk on Butcher Baker was great, but this is fucking top notch. I'm proud of you.
I'm done for the rest of the year. There's
so
no
proud
way.
of you.
Unless we're doing Silent Night, Deadly Night, then I'll do eggnog. But that's it.
All right. So I do want to talk some quick casting real quick because there was 2 characters in this movie that they went through a couple different
Fucking
options
hard
before they
hitting.
But the thing
landed.
is, the cast is stacked anyway.
The cast is stacked. So our main lead, who
Alicia
played Alicia Witt, her character of Natalie was offered to the following 3 women before they got her. And I think that all 3 of them would be decent in the role. Reese Witherspoon, Melissa Joan Hart,
Nope.
and Jennifer Love Hewitt. And Jennifer Love Hewitt said that she turned it down because she didn't want to be typecast as like
As a slasher
film,
a scream
Survivor
queen,
Girl.
yeah.
Reese Witherspoon would have been fucking great.
Oh, Reese
Yeah.
Witherspoon would have been amazing. But the thing that's so funny is that he probably wanted Jennifer Love Hewitt because she was in I Know What You Did Last Summer, and then he wanted that so bad.
Right. Then the next Jamie Lee, basically, like that would have been the next coming of Jamie Lee. Should she? I mean, maybe, I don't know, but she could have easily been that.
They said that they actually ended up going with Alicia Witt for a couple different reasons. She's a solid actress for sure. Right.
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
was like Jennifer Love Hewitt is like already tied to a slasher movie. But then the other 2 are kind of seen as such wholesome good girls that it felt like it made sense. But they're like, but here's this girl whose like acting credentials involve a bunch of David Lynch properties. Like it's just such like an out there concept. But then the other one was the role of Sasha that ultimately went to Tara Reid. They had 2 different people who signed on and then had scheduling conflicts. So that was originally going to be either Sarah Michelle Gellar, but she couldn't do it because of the Buffy schedule, or Jodie O'Keefe, but she couldn't do it because of Halloween H2O.
Wow, dude.
Well,
and
they're
you know
all
what's
in the
crazy?
same. They're all
It's
circling
that-
the same
it's
dream.
that orbit.
That's what I'm saying. They're all. That's what I
Fucking-
mean when like these characters are. These actors were so. I want to say interchangeable because that sounds
No, but they're
negative,
all
but
in high demand.
yeah, they're all in high demand. But I actually think, as much as I love both of those actresses, Tara Reid's voice adds such a sleaziness that this character needed on their radio show that I don't think I would find believable. I don't think I could believably hear Sarah Michelle Gellar's constantly peppy sounding voice saying those like awful
Dude,
sexual innuendos.
You're forgetting Sarah Michelle Gellar in Cruel Intentions.
That is true.
That's why it feels so. It feels okay. So I don't have any love for Tara Reid at all. I mean, I don't think she's the worst in this. I think that this is probably her second.
This is her
best.
at her best, I think, honestly.
No, I
but
think
Yeah.
that she's better in Josie and the Pussycat.
Oh yeah.
But here's the thing: is that I feel robbed because I don't think Jodie Lynn O'Keefe would have worked because Jodie Lynn O'Keefe, Megan and I were literally talking about her yesterday, and Megan like checked her IMDb and her Wikipedia and her Instagram because that's how Megan does it, and she's like, oh, she
hits all the
hasn't done
spots.
she really does. But Jodie Lynn O'Keefe, I feel like she got robbed of an amazing career. And I mean, and if she's happy with where she is, that's awesome. Great, good for her. I feel like the problem is that she, I mean, and I think I mentioned this to you, Matt, at least in passing, if not on an episode, but I thought she was an actual bitchy person because of how good she was in She's All That.
Brian has
and
said the same
Whatever It
thing
Takes.
before. Yeah, Brian has said the exact same thing because when I forget what he said he was watching her in, but he was like, when she wasn't the bitchy character, it like threw him through a loop because he's like, no, she's the jerk in all of these movies.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and she's relatively wholesome in H2O. And I mean, I forgot that she was in H2O until you had me rewatch it for the show like 5 years ago or whatever it was. But I feel like Sarah Michelle Gellar has. Tara Reid is not a good actor. I think Sarah Michelle Gellar is.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and also Sarah Michelle Gellar played a kind of a dicky character in I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I would have loved to have seen her in Tara Reid's role as Sasha. It's not something I'd ever thought about, but now I know that it was an option or a possibility. I feel a sense of loss. I'm
There's
okay with
mourning
Alicia
here.
Witt. Yeah, I'm mourning Sarah Michelle Gellar. I feel a sense of loss with that. Alicia Witt is fine because I feel like the Survivor girl needed to be someone that I didn't have any expectation for, and I had never seen any Lynch before this movie came out. I was a fucking corn-fed little idiot, you know?
Yeah.
I think that it worked fine, but man,
Yeah.
that feels like a
wild to think
loss
about.
to me.
Those
because
alternate
Sarah Michelle Gellar
universes.
would have just been
and
perfect.
And
for
Scott,
that.
I've got one other piece of fun trivia that
Is
if
it
you
fun
don't
or is
know,
it hurting me? Is it going to hurt
no,
me?
this will bring you joy.
Okay.
Did the campus look familiar to you?
It did, and I read, but not enough.
it's also where they shot Killer Party.
Dude,
What a
man,
fun fact.
can I just pick that as my double feature right the fuck now? Because
yeah,
goddamn, no, I have a double feature. But if I was triple featuring it, Killer Party. Listen, everybody, I don't know what number it is on the show, but re-listen to our episode of Killer Party. Watch Killer Party. It is one of the best stupid-ass Evil Dead 2 ripoffs you will ever see.
I've never seen Killer Party.
Oh, bro, I have it on tape.
Yeah, that episode features a Dylan Lyles pre-Christmas 365
yeah.
Dylan Lyles.
I remember Dylan. You invited Dylan on because of Icon versus Icon, and I remember he was like, he had no idea what he was coming into, and then he watched Killer Party like the night before, and he was like, "This is incredible." I'm sure he's never watched it since, but I have.
We do have to address the faults in movies that we watch. Yo, that fucking dog did nothing. You know, no. Brenda. Like, that is, I don't care. You can shove a guy in a bathroom and shove some pop rocks and some cleaning supplies down his throat all you want, but you leave that adorable goddamn dog alone. That was the one moment I almost shut this shit off. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Oh, I fast forwarded through that because I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But the best thing about that whole frat scene is the editing and the color. Like, whatever gels they used are just so late 90s, early 2000s. It feels so good.
It does feel like it does truly feel like if you were to turn the lights on at a frat party, that's realistic. Like
I've been to frat parties. That's exactly what it looks like.
If you were to fucking turn the lights on, if the cops were to show up and the lights were to go on, that's what it felt like, and that must not have changed for many years because clearly, this is what 99, 2000, and I'm partying in 2014 or whatever, and I'm sorry, 2010, and it's clearly the same.
The more things change, the more they stay the same as far as frat parties go. But
no kidding, dude.
Doesn't stay the same.
But that's the only way to heal from all the tragedy that's happened is to go party.
Is to just party. Did you guys notice how Tosh, which is Daniel Harris's goth character, so Alicia Witt comes in and she interrupts Tosh getting her fuck on, like intense, listening to Stabbing Westward.
So stabbing somewhere.
That was some Rob Zombie spook show baby going on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stabbing Westward shows up later when she comes in, and Alicia Witt wants to get on. She wants to check her voicemail, and Tasha's like, "This is my phone line too," and I'm like. Yeah, that's why you should share, asshole. That's why you deserve to get choked to death.
The voicemail will only take a couple minutes. Really.
Yeah, and then you can get back on and talk on AIM as long as you want, Goth Princess 666.
She was checking those Angel Fire websites about her.
Exactly, yes. Good job, Kyle. Way to bring it back around.
There's also some Monster Magnet in here when she's texting on Goth for Goth.
It's vampirefreaks.com. Be real. We have to do an episode about the needle drops in this movie. I know we do.
Yeah.
So
because the soundtrack is very underwhelming. It was like a 7-song EP that they released.
Christopher Young wrote the orchestral themes for this movie.
Let me explain.
Hellraiser.
Yeah. Wow. The music that the album that they actually released for Urban Legend, the music from the motion picture is 7 songs.
Yeah.
And it featured none of the songs that you can think of from this movie.
We did a needle drop episode. We could get a lot out of it. They only paid for royalties for it to be in the movie, not to distribute it.
Yeah, so they paid for some tracks from Stabbing Westward, Cherry Poppin' Daddies, Bonnie Tyler, The Crystal Method, Monster Magnet, Rob Zombie, Paula Cole, and the Ohio Players, which I forgot about this. The fact that the Ohio Players love roller coasters playing in the background of the party scene is for a specific reason. Yeah. Scott, do you know what the reason is?
No, you tell me, please.
There has been an urban legend that the scream in the back of that song is an actual recording of someone being murdered over 911, and it's playing in the party where the guy is mentioning that they're hearing a scream from an actual 911 phone call. Like, it's like a double layered reference. Then they listen to Tara Reid get murdered on the radio.
Yeah,
we're talking about warm blanket shit. Like, that was the Snopes music specific urban legend that I loved because I was like, oh, it's the album version. It's not the radio version. So then I was trying to find the album version to hear the thing. And then like this, I think I actually, because one of my first jobs was working at a college music library. So Connecticut College has a specific music library because they have a huge music program. So LPs, sheet music, CDs, whatever. And I remember going and getting the Ohio, and like I would already been a few years removed from Snopes by this point, but it rang in my head being like, I need to know like what they mean by this. That scream. And the same way that we were talking in that Blair Witch episode where you left Blair Witch and only got spooked on the ride home, Scott. Yeah. The same thing sort of happened building up this mythos about the scream that I couldn't find or hear any other time that I somehow would hear Ohio Players. So it would only be on that CD of the album version, and then when it hit, the chills existed. And then like the understanding that it wasn't real happened, but all the buildup to it being a legend and then trying to associate that legend with what could have happened if it was true was like, I loved it. Because unfortunately for me, the urban legend stuff is actually one of the weaker points of this whole movie.
Well, like, she breaks her entire mythos the second that there's more than one person there, and she's like, well, I guess there's no urban legends with a gun, but whatever. It's like, no.
Dude.
But I like it because
that
means that her revenge is more important than the ritual of killing in an urban legend.
Right.
I mean, I get it. She's a crazy person. She got the person who killed her fiance in the first 5 minutes of the movie. The rest is just weird collateral damage.
There were two people in that car, and then she has to create emotional anguish.
Yes,
but listen, I got off topic. I blame all of you.
That's true.
That's fair.
So I really want to drill down. I want to stab westward with this comment here. Did you notice that Danielle Harris does not lose her rhythm with her beanpole fuckboy when Alicia Witt comes in and she's like, shut off the fucking light? She's still like,
Oh, she's multitasking. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
She's very serious about her work.
Yeah. And I just feel like we lost a real talent when Tosh got murdered because what could we have had?
We really started stabbing eastward at that point. We totally changed direction.
More southward than anything, really. I think I was definitely going south. So my buddy in college was in a long-term relationship with his girlfriend who went to a different college about 2 hours away, I want to say. And every weekend, either she would come stay with him or he would go stay with her. And they were both products of broken families. I'm not saying that as a diss. I'm explaining the architecture of their relationship. It had to work, all right? And so because it had to work, my friend was forbidden to masturbate. He was not allowed to look at porn. He was not allowed to masturbate. His girlfriend would check his internet history. And one time, I want to say junior year, his ex-roommate, who's still a friend of his, living down the hall or in another part of the same building, bursts into his room and is like, dude, you have to see this. Goes onto my buddy's computer and goes to this website like, I think it was Vampire Freaks. I mean, I did not make that joke earlier to bring it around to this, but pretty sure it was like Vampire Freaks or some other bondage, BDSM, kink, friendly type message board. And there was a girl, the only goth at our school, who had done bondage play pictures and posted them there. Someone found it and was sharing with the link with the entire school to humiliate her because she wasn't popular. And so my buddy's ex-roommate was like laughing about this. And my buddy was like, dude, you can't do that. Guy leaves. My buddy doesn't erase his history. His girlfriend comes for the weekend, checks his history, and like almost breaks up with him because she's like, what is this shit you're looking at? And he's like, I didn't do, like, how unbelievable is it for you to be like, I didn't do it, my old roommate came in and showed it to me.
Dude,
but it was the truth. And he made everybody on the hall come into his room, tell his fucking girlfriend to her face as he's like ashen. His face is so white, thinking she's gonna leave him. And she's like, is he lying to me? And we're like, no. It literally happened exactly as he said it was.
She went to a
They're
different
married
school,
and
you
have
said?
3 kids now. Yeah. But
Oh my
they
God,
didn't
yeah.
break up. They've been together since they were 16. I don't think it's the healthiest relationship. I'm
It
sure they're
doesn't
better
sound
now.
very healthy from
but,
that story, but
yeah, so
You can always grow from that. The going to 2 different schools, like, I mean, Carly and I certainly did not have anything like that, but there were certainly questions of like, what's going on? Because we were both experiencing college for the first time with no other siblings who had been to college, like no frame of reference. So we're both just like, are you okay? Am I okay? Are we okay?
Yeah.
Like, not internet
Kyle's like,
history,
that
but
certainly
just, like,
wasn't the case for me. I was slinging web all over the dorm room.
Yeah,
but
yeah. And Carly's and Carly's Christian college education, she was doing the same. So it was really wild. She stashed a Seagram's wine cooler so that they wouldn't find it in her fridge, and it was wild times. But that's fucking hysterical.
That's an
Like,
insane story.
What would you do if you had the ability to sync minds with your best friend? A partner? Maybe even a stranger? Would you share the deepest part of yourself with them?
I can already read your mind.
Then what am I thinking about right now?
You're thinking about how much you want people to support our Kickstarter for our first feature film, Sync.
You're so right. If we raise the money, we can make an amazing sci-fi thriller about mind syncing and toxic relationships.
Support women in film and check out our campaign now. Just go to Kickstarter.com and search Sync, that's SYNC, or click on the link in our bio on social media, and follow us at FemRegard and at Sync the Movie.
Fem.
All right, guys, I know we're having a good time, but the guy that I met on Goth for Goth is on the way with the lithium. So, Scott, if you have a second, can you tell us what you're...
How do you know that Matt has never done a drug? He's coming over with a lithium for me.
Right now.
Are you?
I said the lithium, but whatever.
Okay.
What is
It's
your
funnier
double
my
feature
way.
there?
My double feature is not a horror movie, and is that breaking the rules? I don't fucking
No.
care. Loser,
Good call.
because it's literally the exact same party scene.
Yeah.
It was mentioned briefly. Disturbing Behavior was my
yeah.
double feature. I just like I already did Cry Wolf a couple times, and I don't necessarily think that it would match well. Though it sort of has those things. I mean, it would actually. It actually would match really well.
Colors,
but I don't.
the saturation,
I don't need to watch Cry Wolf more than I've already subjected myself or anybody else who might be listening to. It's on its way. So, but Disturbing Behavior, I don't know. Totally different like theme, but still just. I don't know. I just love it. I just think it works.
I almost wrote down Scream 2 because, I mean, let's face it, this is Scream at a college. Scream 2 is Scream at a college. But I thought that the most appropriate pick for me, something that's true to my heart, true to my childhood, I went with Campfire Tales. The
you'll
urban
laugh, you'll
legend.
cry, you'll puke, you'll die.
Yeah, the urban legend anthology film. I actually was thinking about it earlier today when I saw a post on Scott's wife's Instagram about a note that he left her.
Oh, tell him!
he left a note underneath the printer that said "People can lick too." I think is the longest short of it.
And the funny thing is that she asked me if I would print something for her. The printer is under our shared desk. We have, because since we both work from home, our desk is like a T shape, and in the middle there's our printer. It's only connected to my computer. And so she was like, "Hey, honey, can you print this for me?" And so I went under the printer. I went under the desk to the printer to grab it, and I was watching under Urban Legend, and I was like, "Oh, I know how much she loves the People Can Lick 2 story." And so I go underneath, and I'm like putting my finger down the ball of her foot, and she hates it because she's super ticklish. She's like kicking at me, and then I laugh and I get a piece of paper and I write "People Can Lick Too" in like my worst scrawl possible, and I hand it up to her underneath the desk as she's in a meeting. She hates me. I'm the worst fucking coworker ever. And then the funnier thing is that after she posted it, she was like, "So Scott, I researched that urban legend and we have the nomenclature wrong. It's humans can lick too." And I'm like, "But honey, the best part about urban legends is that the words don't matter. They all change." And that's the whole crux of this movie, is like, no, I heard that it was so-and-so that did this and that.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
it was perfect.
Scott, what did you watch this week?
So I definitely finished this at least a week ago at this point, so it'll be a couple weeks by the time this comes out. Hopefully we'll get a second season of it. But I thoroughly enjoyed Neil Gaiman's The Sandman on Netflix.
So good. So
And
good.
it was, so I have mentioned before, I loved everything DC Vertigo put out. I read everything I could get my hands on when I was in high school and college from the DC Vertigo line. I think the Sandman isn't my favorite. It's the second favorite. Swamp Thing is obviously Alan Moore's run of the Swamp Thing is obviously my favorite. But the fact that they so lovingly presented that first collection of the Sandman stories, and we even got like Dream of a Thousand Cats and Calliope as bonus episodes or as a bonus episode, half episodes each. It was just so satisfying. The diner episode, that one was the one I was most worried about them getting right, because it's a really perverse story. I think they mellowed it the slightest bit and did a really good job. And I think that they actually expanded the serial convention in a really great way to wrap the story up a little bit, or to like tell the story a little bit more immersively than I think the comic book did, because it's just a different medium. And I am really, really hoping that we get another season, because I was super, super apprehensive, and I was so happy.
Kyle, what have you watched that you want to talk about?
I went to go see My Chemical Romance.
Yes!
Yeah, you did. You're not okay?
Listen, I'm not. This is going to be blasphemous. It's actually even blasphemous to me, but I've realized that I have to be honest with myself. And as an adult father who works on a Thursday night when My Chemical Romance comes on at 9:30, and they are expected to play an hour and a half, and I'm in a casino. It's at a casino arena. And I need to get home to relieve the grandparent babysitter that's here. All in all, I'm saying that I didn't stay for the whole show. Please, I know, I understand. It hurts my soul in some ways, but I've also come to terms with it in others. We stayed for 7 songs. Great show.
I think
they
that's
put
good.
on a fucking... It's more than I expected, to be honest. I was Carly and I were talking. We were like... we didn't get to the openers. Carly and I went to go eat dinner. There was 2 openers scheduled, and we walked in as the last opener was leaving the stage. So, but they opened with Foundations of Decay, which is the new single that they put out. I fell off of fandom at Black Parade, so I actually don't know much of that album at all, and then beyond, like no Danger Days, no nothing for me. So for me, they played I'm Not Okay, they played Hang 'em High, and they know what they do to guys like us in prison, which
did they not play anything
ruled.
from
They play customized sets for each city.
So they're
changing up their set for every city.
Yeah, so they certainly probably did play something from I Brought You My Bullets, which does bum me out that I probably missed. I think they played. They've been playing This Is the Best Day Ever, Vampires Will Never Hurt You. Those are the 2 that they've been playing most. And we just couldn't. Like Carly and I, and Carly is not
with Demolition Lovers, right?
I don't think they've played. I don't think they've played Demolition Lovers on this tour. Damn. But they've been dropping in new, like, haven't played Setlist.fm or whatever the fuck it is has been a huge savior.
I love Setlist FM, man.
It's
I
great.
love it so much.
It's great. All this to say is that I don't know how far into this reunion tour that they are, but if anybody can get a chance to go, I know the tickets are fucking insane. We were able to go because it was at a casino, and somebody in our family was able to get free tickets, which is great. It was a packed show, but like the casino always reserves certain sections for like people, just whatever. They fucking ripped. I saw them in 2005, and then I saw them briefly in 2012, open for Blink-182. We missed most of their set, and nobody's seen them since 2015 or whatever. So like. But it was great. I had a fun time.
There's a true crime-ish docu-series on Netflix. It is heavy as fuck. So it is not recommended for everybody, called The Web of Make-Believe. It's 4 stories over 5 episodes about situations where the internet led to horrible, horrible situations. So it's like an episode about swatting somebody when someone swatted a house and the person was killed during the SWAT. It's very powerful, but like I even was texting Brian, like It's unsettling because a lot of time when you watch like a true crime thing, you can like remove yourself a couple steps. You can say like, well, I would have acted differently in this situation, or like this could never happen to me. But because it's all stories that you have seen, have heard about, have seen with your direct family, it becomes really heavy. My personal favorite episode, just for how I think it's just beautifully done, is literally interviewing a woman who became a white nationalist during the 2016 election, and she was part of the group that ran over those protesters. I forget where.
In Charlottesville?
But Charlottesville, yes. So she was part of that group, and her like pulling herself out of that and telling the story of like how she got corrupted into it, what was like her wake-up call to get the fuck out of there. She's now created an internet forum for people to like get out of that thought process and like become better people. But it is a hard watch. Like for 5 episodes that are all under an hour, I had to take a break after every episode and watch something else, because I was just like, all right, I can't just
called?
binge The Web of Make-Believe. It's really well done. Then there's like 1 or 2 that are just about like hackers, and they're kind of light and you can get through it towards the end. But the first 3, they came out guns blazing. We're gonna hit you with some heavy ass shit.
Netflix does a really good job of that particular type of true event, whether it be crime. I mean, mostly crime, but like just like really difficult societal integral thing.
Yeah.
Like that's
They handle it with a really graceful balance, which is tough. But cannot recommend that for everybody. But if that sounds up your alley, it's definitely worth watching. But I again would recommend maybe not making an evening out of sitting down and watching.
it ain't no binge, bro. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Maybe over 5 days watch 1 episode a day or something. But do not be like, ooh, I don't know what to do this Friday afternoon. Matt Kelly said the Web of Make-Believe was a great way to kick off the weekend.
Set myself up for a good week.
Is it about Disney, guys?
But that was Urban Legend from 1998, as picked by Scott. We'll be back next week with even more horror movie night.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.